Tranche 2, Phase 2. We've been listening to more evidence from HN1, the undercover police officer who used the cover name Matt Rayner. I'm joined with Tom Franklin.
Hello.
Hello, who's been tweeting about it. You might want to follow his tweets. If not, you should check him out. What have you made of HN1 today?
He's a born liar, I guess.
Sure.
There's so much that he said that is either simply not credible or provably false. That whenever there's a question about the truthfulness of what he says, you can't trust it. He claims there was no misogynist or racist banter back at the safe houses when other officers have said there was.
Yeah.
You know, is he telling the truth? Was he just there on occasions when it wasn't said? Even when who was arrested?
John Dines?
John Dines?
Oh no, Bob Potter. Bob Potter, the racist.
The Potty Potter.
Yeah.
The day he was arrested, apparently for racist behaviour. He was making racist comments.
Yeah.
And he was drunk. It's just.
The racist behaviour. I mean, he went into a black church, sexually assaulted women, and then started shouting racist abuse at the rest of the congregation. I mean, like, just ridiculous situation. Which he said, well, what was that? Some event. I mean, the idea this wouldn't have been massive is just ridiculous.
Indeed.
Since lunch, we've been hearing a lot about criminality. He claims that he was approved to do low-level criminality. We were shown a lot of documents that were in direct contradiction of this. He claims they're not in contradiction of it at all. That he would have to do some low-level stuff, but nothing major. He's really trying to dance between these two positions around it.
Well, the document says quite clearly that you mustn't commission or induce other people to commit crime. And then he said, but verbally I was told that I could commit low-level crime. He also said that committing low-level crime wouldn't give you credibility. Now, I have committed low-level crimes, some of which I've been convicted for, some of which I've been acquitted for, and among a lot of my friends, it's raised my credibility. So the idea that these people, it wouldn't raise your credibility, and that it isn't something that people who are willing to take more serious criminal in terms of what the law sees as serious anyway, wouldn't look for people who were willing to do that. It's just utter bollocks.
Yeah, total bollocks. I mean, certainly when we, overlaying what we've heard today from what people have said about HN1 and what he got up to, I mean, it seems very clear he was inciting other people to take part in criminal activity. He was driving people to do it, as well as we heard a great deal yesterday from Liz Fuller about how he really relished getting his hands dirty, getting hands-on, doing criminal damage, and not just minor criminal damage, as he claims, but very serious criminal damage, and planning, executing, selecting targets, everything about it. It's been very noticeable how his voice has changed. I mean, we only have the audio this afternoon with HN1, so you don't get to see his face. But it means that this morning when he was talking about himself and how wonderful he is, he was very eloquent and articulate. And now, as we have got to the point where he's, for example, when he was asked the Stephen Lawrence stuff, he became a little mouse. He was like a little mouse. It's like was ever talking about. It was like this, and whereas we had just now we saw the document that Andy Cole's contemporary deployment of his document that he wrote about how there were people in the movement who were suspicious of HN1, and Andy Coles goes, that he gives them the opportunity to do some illegal act that will ingratiate him, will add credibility to him. So I mean. The amount of times, the amount of different ways the HN1 tried to go, oh no, I never saw this, I was never told this, no one ever said it to me, no one ever showed it to me. I mean, I ran out, I started trying to count them, and I mean, I think it was like 8 times I counted, and then I sent the tweet out, and then, put it on to be scheduled, and then he said it a bunch more times. I was like, oh my God, why? He was very, I mean, he always refers to as Mr. Coles, and whatever Mr. Coles thought he'd worked out, I mean, it sounds very clear that, like the majority of people, and I was going to say the majority of other undercover cops, but I was saying the majority of people generally, no one seems to like Andy Coles. I haven't found a single person, apart from current members of People for Conservatives, who like him in any way. I mean, how somebody go through life and be so unpopular as Andy Coles has managed to, it's quite impressive, really.
Yeah, well, yeah, there are people like that, but I guess if you have to be a serial misogynist, sex abuser, liar, you're not a nice person.
Well, quite.
And maybe enough people will see through it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Unless they're Tories, but hey.
Yeah, well, quite, yeah. We've heard a lot. We're starting to see HN1's reports. We saw stuff where he's referring to women as attractive in his reports. I mean, we've seen this a lot from other officers. It's put to him that, you know, under the description box, putting attractive doesn't really tell anybody anything. You know, it's not a useful signifier for identifying somebody on demonstration in photographs or whatever. He's, oh yes, it does, you know.
And he only uses it for women.
Absolutely. Yeah, strange that. You know, I mean, he doesn't even use other pejorative terms to describe the appearance of men as like handsome or even ugly or anything. I mean, it just doesn't come up, right?
Yeah.
All his descriptors, all the descriptors we see generally, you know, things about like kind of hair length and appearance, where they dress and so forth. But with women, you know, attractive. I mean, we have seen from other officers talking about breast size and all sorts of other incredibly sexist things. But I mean, he just limits himself to attractive. I mean, he claims he does these things. Well,
he's a bit more measured in his language than some. So
sure.
So he's not going to not going to be the worst in terms of the language he used.
But I mean, he takes issue with some of the language we see in official documents. So this was never how he'd been taught. Like he's used attractive in his reports, but no one ever said that in the SDS. We had sections of the Tradecraft Manual read out, written by Andy Coles, you know, known by, used throughout the unit. He was nobody ever spoke like that. This was never the case. Never the case. Never the case somebody used this language. Yet it's there in the writing.
And people are more guarded in what they write than what they say.
Yes.
Always. So if there's something that's pejorative in text, they're going to be worse verbally.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And we've heard, you know, we've heard so much evidence from so many people, both undercover officers and other witnesses, that just say, you know, this is not, yes, there was, you know, this was the language, you know, we've got examples of it, it's just not credible. And I think he's destroyed himself as a credible witness in so many ways.
But will Mitting see that?
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I think whereas we get irritated by the pomposity and so forth of the man, I mean, perhaps Mitting is from a particular section of the establishment that just is used to people like this. I mean, certainly there's been a lot of ways in which HN1 has signalled that he's part of the establishment to the chair, to the inquiry.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's, I suppose the pomposity isn't great as much on me as it does on something.
Sure.
But to me, he often uses it when he's trying to hide something. It's more. There's a few times when he's used the word salad, to use your wonderful phrase, but more often when he wants to hide something, he will just become more pompous, more verbose, and I think that's one of the ways that he tries to conceal his lies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're completely right. It's only a short break. We'll probably have to go back in soon. Any other thoughts about HN1?
I just love to know who he is. There are some pictures from the Times circulating on Twitter, so do have a look. If you know who it is, that's not through the inquiry, you can then reveal it.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do. I mean, he clearly has a very good understanding of legislation. There have been a few times when certain things have been said, and he picked up immediately what they're on about because he understands policy. It suggests that he currently works in that sort of field in some manner. Could be. It could be. I mean, could be civil service, could be security service. You know, could be academia, could be any number of things. But he certainly has a high-profile role of some sort. Otherwise, he wouldn't have got this level of security.
And we're talking about 40 years ago, and he would have been in his late 20s, 30s.
Well, then. So less than that. Sort of 25 years ago. 30 years ago. Yeah.
So he'd been in his late 50s, 60s, possibly even 70s.
I think early 60s. I think
early 60s.
Early 60s. I think maybe mid 60s. Yeah.
Matt Rayner himself was born in 57, so presumably he was born sometime between 3 or 4 years before.
They were still slightly younger.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You know,
yes,
53.
It makes it a lot easier to deceive a teenage girl into a relationship if you were slightly younger. That seems to be their reasoning for it, anyway. Yeah, but anyway, it continues. We've got another because he's here for 3 days. We kind of hope that things will finish around 5 o'clock. We've been kept here till gone 7 quite regularly, but because when it's multiple days, it tends to finish around the same time. So hopefully about another hour and a half of evidence before we finish for the day. We're still in the early days of his deployment and the back office. No, we haven't really got into the meat and potatoes, as it were, of his actual deployment yet.
One of the lawyers at lunchtime said to me, this isn't going to be finished in 3 days.
No.
We've only got to page 6 or whatever it was by lunch time of a 293 page statement.
Yeah.
So at that speed, it's actually going to take a lot longer.
Yeah. So maybe we will be here quite late.
Yeah.
There isn't much. I mean, as it currently stands, this set of hearings runs until the 29th of January. We've only got one day that's empty, which is the 24th, which is the Friday, which they could add something to. I can't see them. I mean, they could do the 30th as well, I guess. I'm not sure they will.
The 31st and Friday.
Oh, yeah, the 31st, yeah. So there's a couple of extra days here and there, but not much.
There's always the weekend.
Oh, Jesus, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. We will have, I mean, there has been virtual hearings in the past. There will be a virtual hearing in February. I don't know if they could go virtual with that, I guess, but I would imagine not. It seems fairly unlikely.
Isn't this a virtual hearing?
I mean, this doesn't count as a virtual hearing. Ridiculously, it feels like a virtual hearing. I mean, but the chair and all the lawyers that are not like the non-state lawyers, apart from Liz Fuller's lawyers and James Wood, KC, who are in the actual hearing room, just over by there. We're not allowed in there. We're in this side room. I would show you, but I've been told off so much about filming, I can't actually show anything, so I won't do that. But yeah, I mean, this is actually an in-person hearing, and it may not feel like it, but this technically is. We have so many different types of inquiry. We have the public hearings, which are not particularly public a lot of the time. We have closed hearings, we have secret hearings, we have virtual hearings. This is supposedly a public hearing. What a laugh. Thanks for joining. Anything else you want to add?
No.
See you all. I'll do a video at the end. Thanks for joining. See you all in a bit.